Yo, what is going on? This is your boy Thatguyface with Face the Music Media. We are back again for another episode of How I Synth. In this video, we got Korg Polysix V3. Let's get into it. Oh yeah. Oh my my. Oh yeah. Face the music. So Korg just released their version 3 of the Korg collection, and I'm super excited about these plugins. Now, I did not get the whole collection because I'm just not interested in using all of the synths that's in there. So in this video, we will be covering Korg Polysix. I will be doing another video covering the Korg Mono Poly. Anyway, let's jump into it, man. As you can see here, the Korg Polysix only has one oscillator, right? Where the Mono Poly has 4 oscillators that you can detune and go crazy. If you watch any of my videos, you know I love to go ham on the detune of the oscillators. So Mono Poly is gonna be a fun review, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. But anyway, Polysix only has 1 oscillator. So with that being said, we can't do the detune natural phase functionality that I like to do, but we can jump straight into some pulse width modulation. So we'll get into that. But anyway, as you can see here, we got 1 oscillator. We have your filter here. We only have 1 envelope generator, so it controls the amplitude and the filter all at the same time. Next, we have our modulation generator, which I'm not gonna lie, the modulation in this synth is pretty weird. I'm not as big a fan of the modulation in this synth as I am with some of the other ones, but it works. It does what it does. You can still make some amazing sounds with this synth, so I'm not tripping off that. So then we have an arpeggiator. We have 2 modulation sources here where you can choose between any of these controls here, and you have another source that will control both of those too. So what I like to do is have one for the modulation wheel and one for the pitch wheel, so we'll go through and kind of mess with some of that stuff, and I'll show you guys how that works. So then here we have our key assign mode, where you can go into unison mode, or you can go into chord mode or poly mode. I'm gonna stick with poly mode, so we'll do that. And then of course you have, if you choose unison mode, you got your unison detune, unison spread, and then you got your analog, which is gonna just add some analog, kind of like a drift mode, where it kind of makes the controls drift like some of the other plugins that I've covered. If you've seen it, they have kind of like a drift control where it kind of adds some randomness to the synth, so it's not just one stale robotic sound. So we'll fool around with all that stuff. But first off, you know what I like to do. Let's go ahead and jump into some of this pulse width modulation. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch it over to pulse width modulation, and let's see what that sounds like real quick. Now, the difference between pulse width and pulse width modulation is, if you set it to pulse width, you can control the pulse width manually, so you can get the exact speed that you want. With pulse width modulation, you can only control it with the modulation. So, okay, first let's go ahead and go up here and hit init program. Make sure we are at the initialized program. I'm gonna turn this down because synths are usually extremely loud. Perfect. So let's go ahead and put that into pulse width so I can show you guys that. But as you can see, if I change the speed, the pulse width does not change. So if I take it to pulse width modulation, then we'll see that it's controlled by the modulation. So it just depends on what type of sound you want to get. If you want a wider pulse width sound, then I would say you would want to manually do the pulse width modulation, and then you can automate this control in your DAW. So as you can see here, with this pulse width, when I sweep through and I go to 0, you can see where the line is here, right? When I set it to pulse width, as you can see, the line is going like around here, so it's not as wide of a pulse width modulation. So anyway, let's go ahead and mess around with the filter, see what it sounds like with the pulse width modulation. Boost that resonance a little bit. Now, I will say that this filter is a little bit steppy. I'm not sure if that is true to the original sound or not, but it is very musical, so I'm not too mad at it. But I have the controls routed out, if you see down here, to my MIDI controller because it makes it a little less steppy. So if you use the mouse versus actually using a controller, you know, it makes it more steppy. So I've got everything routed out. So I'm going to go ahead and use the controller. So you can kind of hear the steppiness in there. So, but you know, like I said, it still sounds good, so I'm not too mad at it. So I've got a chord progression I played in the background. Let's go ahead and just mess around with some of the values and see what we can come up with. I'm gonna go ahead and route this modulation to the filter and activate that and see what we can get out of that. So sync it to the tempo. I'm going to take this up to, let's go to 1 full bar, and I'm going to leave the frequency at 10, and I'm going to leave the delay where it is, and then we'll slowly boost the level and see what that sounds like. Yeah. I'm loving that already. I think I'm going to change the speed on this pulse width modulation, and I might adjust the intensity of it. So I'm going to just go ahead and play through that and mess around with those values and see what it sounds like. Nice. So I'm loving that. One thing that I love about this plugin is the effects here. You have this whole effects section right here that has just a chorus, a phase, and an ensemble. I'm assuming that that is true to the original Polysix, and I'm assuming that these effects here were added to the plugin. I don't know for sure, but they have this section here, and then you have all these effects here that you can go through. In this section, I might add some delay and reverb, but I'm gonna mess with these effects here. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that. So you have chorus, phase, and ensemble, you have spread, and then you have speed and intensity. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and you know, it sounds good. So let's take a listen. Loving that. That sounds amazing. So I think what I'm going to add now is a little bit of delay. So let's find delay here. Let's try stereo cross. Let's see. All right. So let's do quarter notes. I'm going to leave the feedback where it is. I'm going to change this high damp to kind of darken the sound of the delay and kind of take some of the low end out. Let's hear it. Let's change. Nice. So I'm gonna turn that down because I really don't want it to be too audible in the sound. I just wanted to kind of add a little extra layer of texture there. So let's go ahead and put on a reverb. I'm gonna go with the wet plate. Let's see what that sounds like. Loving that. Go ahead and reduce that reverb a little bit. I only want a very little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess around with some of these modulation sources here. So this basically dictates what the modulation wheel does. So let's just go ahead and boost a little bit of everything, just a little bit, see what it sounds like. Nice. Loving that. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mess with the filter envelope and see what we can get out of that. So I'm going to activate that, turn it up some. That sounds amazing. So the next thing I'm going to do, being that I want to add a little more life to the sound, what I'm going to do is add plugin alliances Lindale 80. So I'm going to add the Lindell 80 channel, and I'm going to add the bus. Now, the bus is basically just the line amp. So once this whole channel is being processed, it usually sends to a summing bus in the mixer. So this bus plugin here emulates the summing bus of the actual console. So first we have the preamp here, where you can add some drive to the sound. You have your filters here, which is an EQ. So you can go from the 1084 to the 1073. And of course, this is based off of the Neve console. So, you know, you can go from the 1073 here, which is like so many people's favorite, to the 1084. I'm going to rock with the 1084 for this video. And then it has the compressor here. And then you have a gate here. So first I'm going to add some harmonic distortion. So let's go ahead and do that. So nice. So it's not really a big difference that you can hear right up front, but once I finish the entire process, you'll be able to hear it when I bypass it and play it again. So let's go ahead and move to the EQs. I'm just going to lightly EQ like by 1 dB per band or less, depending on how it sounds. But usually you don't want to do too much. Definitely not with a Neve type of plugin or a Neve hardware. It can get extremely harsh really quick. So you want to be very gentle with your EQ. Perfect. So I'm going to choose that band there, and I'm only going to boost that by 1 dB roughly. All right, so let's move to the next band. And as you can see, I'm turning it up pretty loud, sweeping through the frequencies and then reducing the gain. So let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. So, you know, like I said, just by about 1 dB, it just adds a little bit of weight. So let's go ahead and go to the next band. Perfect. So I'm going to go with 35. Let's go to about a little bit less than 1 dB because I just want a little bit of weight on that lower end, not too much, because I'm going to come down here to this low pass, high pass filter, and I'm going to knock out some of that lower end anyway. So let's go ahead and do that. Nice. So it knocked out some of the bottom, but not too much to where it completely removes the bottom. So let's go ahead and sweep through some of this low pass filter and knock out some of the high end. So you see how it knocked out the high end, but not so much to where it sounds dull. So it still sounds bright, but it sounds a little less harsh. And that kind of adds to the analog sound of it. So let's go ahead and move on to the compressor. With the compressor, I'm just going to keep it very gentle, not too much. And then I'm going to back off the dry wet because I just wanted to barely compress it. I don't really want too much going on. So let's go ahead and mess around with that. Nice. So let's go ahead and back that off to about 50%. So it's not really doing too much, probably just 1, maybe 2 dB of gain reduction. Let's go ahead and move on to the bus channel. And with the bus channel, like I said, I don't want to do too much. I'm just going to add a little bit of THD here, and then we can move on. You hear how it starts to kind of break up a little bit? Yes, we love that. So let's back off a little bit and see what it sounds like. Beautiful. Loving that. So let's go ahead and group these two here, and then let's hear what they sound like before and after. Nice. So it just opens the sound up so much more, adds more weight to it, and it just sounds really good. But hey man, look, that's the end of this video. Let me know what you think about Korg Polysix in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit this video with a thumbs up. It does help the algorithm pick up the channel, so I would really appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. We got so many more videos coming. Go ahead and look at some of our other videos. Again, this is your boy Thatguyface for Facey Music Media. We out of here. Peace.